What's going on, growers? It's James Prigioni coming to you live from Jersey. This is the time of year, just a couple weeks away from the last frost date, when most people are pulling out their gardens and stuff. But here, we're not ready for that. We want to get a little planting right now. That's going to be an investment for next year. Let's get our fall garlic in. Let's go. I don't know about all of you, but I feel like planting fall garlic is like almost a garden resolution for next year, that I'm going to stay on top of everything. Because we're looking forward towards next year. I'm going to be planting it now, but we're not going to be harvesting it till summer. So it's almost like a perennial investment. And I think that's a great mindset, especially if you're into more of just like annual gardening, to focus on things in more of a perennial mind, to get some perennials in, because it's great having annuals. I love that. They're some of my favorite tasting things, but to have the support species like the perennials, a system like this, so if for some reason you can't plant annuals, that's nice. And also, the perennials, usually they get better and better every year with bigger harvests, so that's always fun too. Let's get the garlic planted. Before we get prep for planting, there's a few things I want to talk about. First of all, there are two different kinds of garlic. They are hard neck and soft neck. First of all, I'm going to talk about soft neck because that's going to be the one you're going to typically find in a lot of the food stores. And they have a longer shelf life. That's probably one of the reasons. Often they're also said to be easier to grow, which is good for us. I'm growing two soft necks actually today. I'll show you as I plant those. The other one, like I said, is hard neck. This is one that's gonna actually, the reason they call it hard neck or seed stem or bolting is because during late spring, like as the actual bulb starts expanding, it'll try to shoot up a seed stem and it'll try to flower. And you want to make sure you cut that off if you want to go for a higher yield, because when you allow it to flower, it's actually going to take up a lot of the energy and a lot of the hormones to produce that flower and produce the seed, as opposed to that bulb down there. So if you're going with the seed stem, make sure you're pruning off that flowering head as it comes out in late spring. One thing that's important when planting fall garlic is timing. You want to make sure you're not jumping the gun too much and that it's actually fall. So after the equinox is good. Around here in zone 7, typically it's planted around Columbus Day, which is just the second week of October. And another thing is to choose your varieties. Some people just want to go to the supermarket and grab what they have. I think it's better to find a reputable company and select out, choose varieties that you're passionate about. There's so many different ones, and that's what makes gardening a lot of fun. Garlic likes to grow in deep, rich soil in full sun, like a lot of things do. But one thing about garlic to note, and it's important, that's why I love hitting my book, Carrots Love Tomato. I've talked about with this one before, but all the allium family, garlic, onions, they actually inhibit the growth or slow down or even make the growth worse for things like peas and beans. So we want to make sure we're not planting any of our garlic in a location that we're going to have future beans coming up in the spring. Another thing is that they do well around tomatoes. They prevent red spider. That's what it says here. So what we want to do is actually stick a row of garlic between our tomato rows. So next year we'll be planting those in the same location, because tomatoes are one of the things that like growing in the same spot every year. We're in the new food forest garden that we actually just put in last fall. And you can see we've had some tomatoes here. We've got basil there. There was another row of tomatoes here. This front corner is where I'm doing most of my annuals because it gets a good amount of sunlight. So we always have a section that we're gonna have a lot of annuals, because in time the food forest will fill up like that one, which is exciting. So we're gonna have the garlic going in a row here and a row here. Let's get on that. And one of the reasons I love the wood chips is because we're just gonna dig down. The soil should be nice and damp, ready to be worked. And we might add some black leaf mulch on top. So one of my rows of garlic is gonna go right here, the other one here, and then if I have room, I'll do a third here. And I'm just gonna cut these basil out of the way, just to make it easier on me, and I've got just a little rake to pull back the wood chips. I mention it all the time, but we don't plant in the wood chips. The wood chips are simply a growing medium. We actually just pull the wood chips back and plant directly into the soil. So I'm gonna cut these basil out just to make it easier on me. One thing you'll notice is that I didn't just rip the basil out, I cut it. I want to leave all those roots down there. Those are going to feed the microorganisms and all the worms. Let's talk about the whole bulb for a minute. So each garlic bulb is actually made up of separate cloves. When we're planting, we want to make sure we break this bulb up into its separate cloves, because these cloves are what you're going to want to plant. Something super vitally important is when we're planting these, we want that little pointed side faced up. That flat side is going to go down, because the flat is where the roots are going to be coming from. We don't want this thing flipped upside down when we're planting. That's not going to be a good step to success. So let's get these in the ground and we'll talk about spacing. We have that basil cut out. Now I'm going to pull the wood chips back and let's get ready to start planting. I like this little rake. I wish it was a little longer, but I like that it's not super wide. It doesn't have a huge surface area, so it's easier to move the wood chips.
Oh, 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 oh. Let me be now, let me be, 'cause I want to be free now.
As you can see, I got the wood chips pulled back from these 2 rows, and I pulled another one in case we need. The soil is looking beautiful. I'm gonna get in there and get my garlic planted. I'll show you guys just how I do that. Right here, I'm gonna show you all how we're doing it. If we were planting direct seed, I would take all these wood chips back. But since we're not, since we're planting a clove, we're not actually really worried about that. And the spacing with this is about 6 to 12 inches apart, really depending upon the variety of garlic. If you're growing something like a mammoth garlic or an elephant garlic, then you're gonna wanna space it more than something like a smaller variety like this. And again, we're gonna stick that flat side down. I'm not gonna mix up too much. I'm just gonna shovel in there and get about 2 to 3 inches down. Cover that right back up with that soft soil. And that's about it. There's nothing too much to it. I'll bring some of the wood chips back around it after I get some black leaf mulch down. So I'll go through, I'll plant all these, then I'll get some black leaf mulch down, wood chips on top of that. Before I do this though, I'm gonna come out and lay the clove at the spacing. This way I know where I put them.
Let me be now, let me be, 'cause I want to be free now, oh, 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 free to see, yeah, well, and I want to walk away, oh, let me feel my feet, let me be free. Time and time and time we see these acts against humanity, well, each for reaching, each will bleed and shed blood for what they each believe, well, on and on and on we go, well, somewhere.
I've got some black leaf mulch here, basically just compost. Now I'm gonna go through and do a top dressing across that whole row of garlic. Like I said, they're pretty heavy feeders, so this will be like planting and fertilizing them at the same time, because as the rainy season comes, all this is just gonna go down with gravity and feed that garlic, so when spring comes, it's ready to shoot up. Let's bring this through, and I'm just gonna do it, not crazy, but a nice dressing, maybe 2 inches or so, 1.5 inches, maybe an inch. And what this will do, like I said, is just feed them, give that extra food. Then we'll come back and put wood chips back over the top of it. This isn't completely necessary, but it'll definitely help. A homemade compost would be even better, but I don't have any made.
I want to be free now, oh, oh, free to see, yeah.
Then we'll just pull some of those wood chips right back over.
Let me feel my feet.
One thing to note is if your garlic actually springs up in the fall and you got the greens, before the frost comes, you want to make sure you put like 5 or 6 inches of wood chips. You want to kind of make it nice and thick to insulate it. So I'm going to come through here and put probably a little thicker layer of wood chips just for the winter. Let's get this next variety planted, and this one's the Loyacano. So we're going to just do the same basic thing, break it up and lay them down just for our spacing. These cloves are a lot larger than the other ones.
Let me be now, let me be, 'cause I wanna see, would you let me go, yeah. Let me be now, let me be, 'cause I wanna be free. I need to be free. I wanna be free. And I need to be free. We all need to be free. We all wanna be free. I wanna be free. I wanna be free. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
That little section is planted. Doesn't look like much, but that's a great thing about gardening. It usually doesn't until things start to grow. And you can see I staked off where the rows started and where they end. I think that's enough garlic. I was gonna plant that row there, but that just might be too much garlic for this small area. So I'll think about it. That was only a couple of cloves. I have a number of ones left. But maybe tomorrow I'll come out because the sun is starting to wane and Tuck's getting a little hungry. So I think we made some decent progress. And then I'll think about it. I'll come out tomorrow, observe, and decide where is another location that I think the garlic could not only produce food for us, but also help. That's what's going on here. We're getting that multiple functions. This garlic is gonna help with the pests and stuff too, but it's also gonna produce food. In regards to mulch, you're gonna want a couple inches, especially going into winter, planting this fall garlic. What you don't want is huge wood chips though. You wanna make sure you come out and take away some of the big ones over the top, because you don't want that preventing from some of your garlic from actually pushing up out of the ground. As Tuck's chewing on a stick, having fun too. and we planted 2 different varieties. One of them is the Nootka variety, and another is the Loyacano. I think that's how you say it. So we went with those 2 varieties this year, and I still might order another because those are both soft neck varieties. If you have any good hard neck varieties that I have to grow, let me know. I'll order it and get it in as soon as possible. That's today's video, growers. Thanks for watching. As most of us know, garlic is medicinal, but it's even more medicinal when we grow it organic. And just from experience, I know garlic from my backyard, it tastes better, and I think it's a lot better for me. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share with your friends, and don't forget to check us out on Steam. We'll be posting again real soon. Tuck and James Pigeon will be back at you. We out.